So I advise a couple different things in terms of microaggressions. One is there is a breathing practice, actually two of them, that you could do in the moment. Somebody says something to you, like, for example, someone says, you're just not really a cultural fit for this organization. Or I had a boss that said, hey, can I talk to you? So I was like, sure. He closes the door. I was new, it was like a weekend. And he said, I just want you to know, I didn't hire you because you're Black. Now, I was like, you right? Like, when that happens, what do you do? Right. In my head, I wanted to say some things that perhaps were not so professional, but are part of my upbringing from Washington, D.C. But instead, I did what is called a belly breath. The belly breath is when you inhale and you expand your belly as big as possible on the inhale. And when you exhale, your belly comes back towards your spine. And so doing some very exaggerated, stick your belly out on the inhale, exhale, bring it back in. That stimulates your parasympathetic nervous system. That's the opposite. That's your rest and digest nervous system. That allows your body to calm down. But also when you're emotionally triggered, you might say something or do something that perhaps is not your best self. Perhaps if you had time to think about it, right, you might not do that. So this breath is the pause between stimulus and response. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to cuss people out at work, right? But we can't do that because then we're going to be seen as angry Black woman. We're going to be seen as aggressive and all of that. So the belly breath is what you can do to just have a pause between stimulus and response, calm your nervous system, and then decide what to say. You know what I said to that boss? I said, after I breathed, I said, thank you so much for sharing. I think that my qualifications and my experience speak for themselves, but is there anything else you'd like to share? But really in my head, I wanted to be like, mother, I got 2 degrees from Harvard. Really? Are you serious? You know what I mean? But that might not have been good for positive, relationships. Another breathing practice that's really helpful is the extra long exhalation. That's when wherever you are in the breath, you just exhale all your air out. You notice I just did it. My shoulders went down, right? And that also stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system. Does the exact same thing as the belly breath. Yeah. A lot of folks come to me and ask me about my work, and they particularly say, well, why is it the responsibility of Black people to change when really the white people just need to stop doing what they're doing, right? Here's the thing. When are they going to stop doing what they're doing, right? I mean, let's talk about Florida. Actually, let's not talk about Florida. But you see what I'm saying? What I mean by, well, we need to take care of ourselves now is that if we wait for there to be less racism, for microaggressions to finally be eliminated from our daily lives, if we wait, we're going to be waiting a long time. We might die in the process because medical research now shows that racism and discrimination are the direct cause of our Black people's higher rates of high blood pressure, also causes chronic stress. And the symptoms of chronic stress, in addition to high blood pressure, are a weakened immune system, diabetes. You know who has higher rates of diabetes? Obesity, accelerated aging, anxiety, depression. So we can't wait for folks to change. We cannot control what they do, but what we can control is how we feel inside. That's why it's so important for us to take care of ourselves. There are things that, like, systemically at the organization in terms of structures and processes and offerings they can do, and then there are things that individuals can do. So just like at a high level, one thing that I think is definitely missing are mental health resources specifically tailored to their Black and brown folks. So for example, I offer workshops. I typically work with Black employee resource groups, particularly around the issues that we face at work. So for example, mindfulness to heal from microaggressions, or how do you build up your confidence and counter imposter syndrome when people are constantly telling you that you're not good enough, or you constantly get passed over for promotions. Also, companies are offering EAP hotlines. You know what that is? Like employee assistance programs, I think is what it stands for. And, there's just a hotline you can call if something's wrong, but it's not tailored for us. They're not thinking about us. So how can you provide resources that are tailored just for us? Another thing that I think is important is, every company does surveys, employee surveys, and they do track by ethnicity how people are doing. And typically the Black people are the least satisfied with their experience. And the companies know this and they don't do anything about it. They're like, there's nothing we can do. What if the compensation of leadership was tied to the movement, the upward movement of the satisfaction of their Black employees? I'll tell you, when you put money on the line, people act. So that's what I think. I think people, they need to, align compensation with the satisfaction of the Black folks. And then when you think about individuals, just like what can you as an individual do, an ally, for example, one, use your privilege to amplify Black voices, right? Like, for example, give the Black person on your team the opportunity to speak in front of everybody, right? Give them the opportunity to have visibility so that they can then get more opportunities that come to them because of that visibility. Also, when allies or aspiring allies see something wrong happen, speak up. Let me give you an example. I teach a workshop on microaggressions and I do a survey and I say, which of these have you experienced? And I was at a large company, global company, and 100% of the Black employees said this, ignoring my comment. But then when a white person says the exact same thing in the meeting, they get applauded. Right? Now, if you are an ally and you witness this, right? I just say something, I get ignored, a white person says the same thing. It would be helpful if you said, Zee just said that. Thanks for repeating her point, giving me the credit, right? So things like that. I think that we all need to do our part. And I agree with you that those in the power need to take action.